This is a public meeting of the Indiana Arts Commission, Arts in the Parks and Historic Sites 2020, Advisory Review Panel, Organization Number 2. I'm Sherry Stark, Commissioner from Columbus. Today is October 29, and we are meeting by conference call and streaming live from a webinar. We welcome applicants who may be listening in today and would like to remind you that you are muted for this review. There is no direct contact or conversation about the evaluation and disposition of applications before, during, or after the panel meeting. At this time, we would like the panelists and staff to introduce themselves, stating their name, occupation, and where they are from in the state. Michael Ann, if you will start, please.
Hello, I'm Michael Ann Carley. I'm from Bloomington, Indiana, and I am involved in a number of nonprofit arts organizations, and I teach nonprofit management as an adjunct at in the Arts Administration program at IU. I am board president of the Indiana Limestone Symposium in particular, and also work closely with the Bloomington Creative Glass Center.
Thank you, Mitch.
Hey, good morning. My name is Mitch Feigert. I'm the president and CEO of the Wabash County Museum. It's in Wabash, Indiana. Another hat, I'm also a Wabash City Council member, so elected official as well. Really excited to engage kids and families in local history, so ready to get today going.
Sarah?
Good morning, Sarah Mummy. I'm the executive director of the Lafayette Symphony Orchestra in Lafayette, Indiana.
Thank you. Doug?
Doug Picanga. I am a community programming manager for the Miami Tribe of Oklahoma here, and I'm Wayne, Indiana.
Thanks. Jesse?
My name's Jessie Russett. I'm the Eastern Regional Director, and I'm down here in Cambridge City.
Stephanie?
Hi, my name is Stephanie Shook. I am the Outdoor Education and Restoration Coordinator for the Nina Mason Pulliam Eco Lab at Marian University in Indianapolis.
All right.
Chaplain?
Chaplain Lisette Williams-Falocha from Gary, Indiana. I'm the administrator of the Grant Theater Community Center, and we also started a Taste of Theater out of South Bend, Indiana.
Thank you all. Anna?
Good morning, I'm Anna Tragister. I'm the Artist and Community Services Manager at the Indiana Arts Commission, and I just wanted to note, welcome to our guests, and if you wouldn't mind, if you have the ability to chat your name and what county you're coming from, we'd love to know. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Anna. At this, Anna, is it all right to go ahead and start the review while they're doing that? All right, good. Well, welcome to everybody. Now we're going to begin the panel review, and this is how the process will work. I will announce the application we will review and ask the first reader to begin the discussion. The first reader will provide his or her assessment of the application based upon the evaluation criteria and that person's perspective. Panelists, please note that the applications do not need to be fully recapped since everyone has read them. Just a quick description and then your comments. After the first reader is finished, I will ask the second reader to present any new, additional, or opposing comments. We are not looking for consensus, just a full evaluation from the different perspectives that panelists bring to the table. After the second reader has finished, I will open the discussion for any final comments. Remember, in the interest of time, we are only looking for new, additional, or opposing viewpoints. Not every reviewer needs to comment on every application. If a panelist happens to have a conflict of interest, that panelist will be placed on hold while the application is reviewed. However, we believe there are no conflicts of interest on this current panel. Finally, Once the application has been reviewed by the full panel, we will ask the panel to update their scores in the online system. It's common for scores to change as a result of this broader discussion. These scores will be saved automatically. So that's the process. Are there any questions from the panelists? Okay, hearing none, let's begin. And we'll start with the application from Duck Creek Center for the Arts. And the first reader is Stephanie.
Hi, so this one was about basically as a project for a musical called The Taffetas that is a nod to the girl groups in the 1950s. The application was really straightforward, and I honestly don't have a lot to say about it, which is a good thing. I will say that I am familiar with the location, so they are going to have it at the Whitewater Canal State Historic Site, and I'm familiar with that location, and this works really well with that that area, with the history, and I think with the crowd that goes to Metamora. There's a lot of they have a lot of musical talent there, and so this flows right in with that. So I think that as far as the public benefit and participation, I think it's great because I see a lot of interest with that type of a thing happening there. And then they also mention how they will kind of bring the crowd in during their musical. So it will be more than just a show. They'll actually be in the crowd will be involved with it. The budget seemed pretty clear. I think everything was really clear and easy for me to check things off the list. I'd say my only comment, and maybe this means something, maybe not, they mentioned that their survey was going to be only accessible via a device, and I wondered if that might limit the amount of people that will respond in an evaluation. So I might suggest having that, but then also maybe having some paper evaluations as well, just because of the type of crowd they might have, and we don't want to exclude anybody based off of how you can access the evaluation. And that's all I'd have to say.
Thank you, Stephanie. Second reader, Jessie.
I also don't have much to say about this. The only thing that I noted was for the mileage. It has there, because this is going to be held at 2 events, one in Elwood, which is not a state park, and then one at the Whitewater Canal. The mileage that's listed for rehearsals, my only comment is that maybe that should be split in half. Just seems a little bit like it should be half for the Elwood event and half for the Whitewater Canal event. But beyond that, that's it.
Thank you, Jessie. Other reviewers, are there any comments?
This is Mitch. I did make a note on this one. I think for someone who's not familiar with the area, I would have liked to have seen the audience section be maybe a little more robust. Are they going to see more seniors, more kids? I think that could have changed how I read the rest of the application, but I do think it was fairly straightforward, like the other 2 reviewers said.
Thank you, Mitch. Others? Any other comments?
If this is Chaplain Salocha, I agree with Mitch. I noticed not the difference is that children weren't absolutely, you can't notice where the parts are for them. In other words, the seniors, the teens, you can tell what everybody else would be capable of doing as far as bringing the crowd in is concerned. But what about the little children?
All right, thank you, Chaplain. Any other comments from reviewers?
This is Michael Ann. Also, with regard to the audience, they say that their primary audience is the residents and visitors of any age. And again, that is very general, and it's just taking the opportunity to expose themselves to the people that are already there without really targeting any other audiences further. And I believe that their marketing plan is quite ambitious, and working together with the site, they have the opportunity to segment that audience further and reach more broadly beyond just the residents and people who are already going to be impacted anyway.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, then please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Does anyone need more time? All right, hearing none, I will assume you all have completed your scoring. And we will move to number 2, which is the Evansville Philharmonic Orchestral Organization, or Corporation, excuse me. And first reader is Sarah.
So this project is to present music at Angel Mounds, which will include drum circle, instrument build, instrument petting zoo as part of an existing Mommy and Me program at the site. This project definitely includes several activities to engage the public in a variety of activities that are going to help to celebrate the history and the mission of Angel Mounds, while also connecting music and history and culture. I did think there was a mention of an element concerning Angel Mound's purpose as a public works stimulus package in the 1930s that for the reader just didn't seem to fit as well with the rest of the described project or the site's overall goals, as well as some of the other elements did. And it was a little less clear how they would use music to promote government support of public projects. Also, while the statement of support clearly shows that the site is interested in participating in a partnership, it might have been a stronger piece had it been written after some planning had occurred. This seemed to be kind of an initial communication with the site about having something happen. So it could have helped us to know more specifically that the site was on board with the specific planned activities. The intended audience is encapsulating a large range of ages, preschool through high school. It might be helpful to know if or how they're planning to adapt the activities to suit different ages. You know, for example, with the instrument build, the capabilities, the materials used for preschoolers would clearly be very different from high school, and it's unclear if they've taken that into consideration. And also incorporating another tangible evaluation tool beyond attendance numbers could be helpful to assess the success of the program. You know, for example, distributing a survey to attendees and or parents. The organization and its educators clearly have the necessary experience to be successful with the program and have strong communication with the site representatives. It would be nice to see some plans to incorporate additional marketing beyond what the site is already doing, just to make it more of a true partnership, to increase exposure for the site and to increase participation in the planned programming. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Chaplain?
Yes, I agree with everything she said and would like to add that for the smaller children, they did show that there was an instrument petting zoo. And for the older children, they also noted that they would be learning to make instruments. So that kind of leveled it off a little bit for me.
Thank you, Chaplain. Other reviewers, any comments?
Yeah, this is Doug Bakanga. I think regarding the letter, would have liked to seem like an official letter from the park itself rather than an email communication that says, yeah, we were good with working with you. And I agree with the comments.
I'll clarify that we don't require an official letter to meet
okay.
that. That's okay. I mean, if that relates to anything else about the criteria, perhaps maybe there's more you'd like to see about the partnership, but it at least meets our minimum criteria for support.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other reviewers' comments?
I would like to comment just about the audience that they saw and just kind of the program in general. Considering the sensitive nature of this location, I think it would have been appropriate for them to reach out to more of the tribal community to invite them to participate, potentially a traditional drum circle, or have some Native American performers included into this, and also seek audiences from that community. And I don't think they included anything like that.
Thank you, Jesse.
I'd like to comment. I would like to comment on it as well. As a tribe, it's incredibly important for organizations to reach out to federally recognized tribes when their intent is on doing things related to Native Americans. So in this instance, reaching out to tribes that would have been in that area. Now, while these are mounds, they're definitely ancestors of those folks still existed in the area, and reaching out to a federally recognized tribe from that area would be, that lived in that area, would be incredibly important and provide, I think, a much fuller program for them.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Does anyone need more time? Thank you. I'm Mitch and Jesse. I'm using you as my signals that you're done. So if you'll look up, it helps me. We'll move now to the third application, IndyBaroque Music, Inc. And Michael M., first reviewer.
Hello. The organization is the IndyBaroque Music, Inc., and their project title is When Indiana Was Young. They're proposing to provide 2 different performances at 2 different venues. One is the Culbertson Mansion and the other is the TC Steele site. That's the summary. The project has full participation of the site in terms of why the site is germane or relevant. They've suggested that it's because it's a historic site and that it is full of grandeur and opulence, which is similar to Baroque music. I think that that is appropriately identified, but I think that more importantly, both of these sites are interested in outreach and education and fulfilling their mission. And I think that they make a stronger statement in their letter of support than the applicant actually makes in their project description. Now, I would say that when you read through and get into the depths of the application, it seems that they do have educational components in their presentation, but it is simply not mentioned in the project description. And I think that that's a failure of, somewhat of a failure of the grant application, but I don't really believe that it's a failure of the project, because it seems as if they do include strong educational components within the context of giving the performance. So given that, I think that the public benefit and participation is good and high, and that the sites are particularly engaged with them. In terms of feasibility, their marketing plan looks great. It does rely on a relationship with the sites, but it doesn't seem as if the sites are overburdened with that. I do believe in terms of feasibility, their budget their marketing plan is ambitious, but their budget only provides $80 for marketing. And they're relying in part upon radio spots, and radio spots are much more expensive than that. Again, I want to say that this organization has a lot of experience and they know what they're doing. So they know how to market. So I'm a little confused as to why the budget doesn't reflect something that's a bit more realistic in terms of that marketing plan. That's all.
Thank you, Michael Ann. Second reader, Doug.
Yeah, I fully agree with her comments on this project. The only thing that I maybe had issues in reading was I couldn't, for me in reading, where the hands-on participation was at. Maybe it was just in the listening part of the performance. Overall, it was everything looked spot on, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Doug. Other reviewers, any comments?
I will say on this one, I made a note. I really liked their site goals. I thought they did a nice job of showing that shared benefit between the site's specific goals and then the goals they have as a project. So I did make a note that I thought they did a really nice job on that. I will agree with the marketing plan. It is a robust and a really comprehensive plan, but the budget didn't seem, I'm going to make some assumptions there, but you know, the budget that they showed us just doesn't reflect the money to accomplish that.
Thank you. Any other comments? Then I would ask you to finalize your scores and update your online comments. Does anyone need more time? Hearing none, we will be ready to move on to the application number 4, Jackson County Community Theater. First reader, Jessie.
This application is to host a children's theater summer workshop with interaction with the Starve Hollow State Park. My main comment for this, I think it sounds like a wonderful workshop, and it seems like the students will really be able to develop their artistic ability through it. The only way I think they could have made it better is that they only have one day of interaction at the park, and they don't even describe how they're going to interact with it. So I feel like for that reason, it's a little hard, excuse me, hard to understand how they're connecting to the location. And they did note that the project couldn't be relocated. And I just feel like there's not really a firm connection or meaning to picking this location. It could really be done anywhere. So that's my main concern about it. I thought they clearly can do it because they have done it many times before. I think the marketing was great for it. The income looked, over expenses were reasonable for hosting a long workshop like that. Let me see. Yeah, and I do really enjoy the interaction that the students have and the responsibility that they take on for this performance. So my only comment really is just that they don't have any connection to the location. And maybe they do, I just don't see it in the application.
Thank you, Jesse. Stephanie?
I kind of agree too. I like, so being the naturalist on the panel, I like how they use the natural history of the area, and that might just be, you know, taking a walk and being inspired by what they see. And I think that's part of what their goal is to have them be inspired by nature to create these props. So it might not necessarily point to that location, but I'm glad that they do that. And I will also say that it does, as mentioned before, it does seem like they've been doing it for years, and I really liked how they provided feedback from previous workshops. It looks like it's well received by the community, and it sells out, and people really enjoy it. And they do mention the staff, the site staff are happy to have it because that type of workshop or experience isn't seen a lot there, so they're happy to be able to provide that because it seems to be needed.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are there any new, additional, or opposing comments?
This is Sarah. I just wanted to add regarding the connectivity to the site. I do feel like they address it a bit in the project description. I mean, they do say that the workshop will include a tour of the state recreation area, and that participants will be asked to pay attention to the details of nature and then to use those details that they saw as inspiration for designing set pieces and various stage elements for the production. So I did feel like there was some specific, you know, getting out into the site and then using inspiration from the site to integrate into the show. And I did also just want to echo how outstanding I think the inclusion of really specific metrics showing the return rate of previous participants to state parks in the future. It's a really excellent evaluative measure that they've taken, and really helps them to continue their future programming and to show the benefit for everyone of their project.
Thank you, Sarah. Other comments? Then I'd ask you to finalize your scores and update your online comments. Let me know if you need more time, anybody? Okay, hearing none. We will move to number 5, New Harmony Artists Guild, Inc. First reader, Mitch.
Yeah, so this applicant focused on delivering a musical performance entitled Abraham Lincoln and Song at the New Harmony site. You know, the application did a really nice job of explaining the project, the program, the connection of Abraham Lincoln to the state, showed that the artist would be able to deliver you know, a great program. One thing that I did make a note of, they referenced in their audience that they would serve the underserved population, and being someone who has spent really my whole career focusing on the underserved population. I felt like they may have threw that word in there, but then didn't explain or justify what they meant by that, how, what they were defining as underserved and how they were connecting to that very specific group of people. So I would have liked to have seen that if they did have a very specific plan. I thought their marketing plan again was strong, but when you look at their budget, they reference some different marketing initiatives, but then there isn't a reflection of that within their budget. But as far as delivering the program, having the artist and the plan to execute, I thought it was very well explained. That's really all I had to share.
Thank you, Mitch. Michael Ann?
Hello. I felt in particular that the relationship to the site was, I guess I would call it perhaps weak, in that the discussion is that, the discussion was that this was particularly relevant to President Lincoln, to Abraham Lincoln, and that his relationship in Indiana was strong, and therefore that the historic New Harmony site would be important. Yet in the narrative, it suggests that Abraham Lincoln camped on somebody's property as he was traveling from one place to another. And notwithstanding the importance of Abraham Lincoln, my question is that was this site suggested just kind of gratuitously, or was the site essential to the project? Because I see this project as a packaged project that has been done in a number of places, and that somehow is it just trying to slip into a site to make it then relevant when that might not really be accurate. In terms of the public benefit and participation, again, I would also reiterate the statement about the target audiences, and I don't believe that I don't understand why it's particularly appropriate for older or underserved audiences. And then there's no further discussion about how those older or underserved audiences are reached out to, and why are these the target audiences. Not everybody has to say why the audiences are target audiences, but I think it would be fruitful in this application to have articulated those things. In terms of the feasibility, I think that that's very high, because this is a well-oiled machine. This individual has produced this program in a number of places and has the marketing and their outreach all down pat. I did have a question from the budget detail, and it said a $300 mileage charge for the artist traveling, and that very well may be perfectly legitimate. I would have liked to have seen a bit more detail, though, explaining that reason. Also, in terms of its outreach to the community and its artistic quality, it has, I'm questioning why, if the artist is on site for an entire day, so there's travel, the artist is staying overnight 2 nights, and so that would be on site for a whole day, but the performance is at one point, for a couple of hours. Couldn't this project be augmented with some kind of non-performative audience participatory interaction that might happen even beforehand, not just to talk back, but some kind of educational interaction with a different target audience, or the target audience that is then going to be there for the performance.
Okay, thank you, Michael Ann. Other reviewers, are there any additional or opposing or new comments? Hearing none, I'd ask you to finalize your scores and update your online comments. Does anyone need more time? If not, we'll move on to number 6, the Northwest Indiana Excellence in Theater Foundation, Inc., and call on Doug.
Yeah, this project is with the Indiana State Dunes, and they are going to be doing performances in the park, Shakespearean, some Broadway favorites, and some improv comedy. That's their primary interaction with the park. It's well supported and has been done in the past. And with the audience, good interaction with the audience. And it seems to be, in reading this project, that seems to be part of their focus is to engage the audience. And they're also trained that don't necessarily attend these type of events as well. They seem to work well with the park. Again, the audience participation. The evaluation is very detailed, and I feel like with their assessing their event, they're going to get really good feedback from the audience and from the park as well. Really like the marketing plan as well. Again, it seems for a while. And budget to me seemed pretty spot on. And then the artists themselves are just amazingly qualified for this project.
Thank you, Doug. Sarah?
I agree. Really well presented, well planned application that clearly demonstrates great benefit both to the organizations involved and the park. A really well presented application.
Thank you. Are there any new, additional, or opposing comments?
Sherry, one thing I made a note of, they talk about, that typical Friday through Sunday visitor, and that this has a goal of extending that stay to get a visitor to stay on Thursday and make that a 4-day weekend. I would have liked to have seen if that's been done with other programs at the site. I just had a hard time understanding how that would be accomplished, knowing that most people would then have to take another day off work. And I just wasn't sure that goal was actually feasible, and would have been nice to have seen some numbers or matrix to help understand that.
Thank you, Mitch. Any other comments? All right, please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Does anyone need more time? If not, we will move to Partnerships for Lawrence, Inc. And first reader is Michael Ann.
Okay, Partnerships for Lawrence, Inc. is proposing plein air in the park, and the site is Fort Harrison State Park. Partnerships for Lawrence, it proposes to do 2 different plein air painting workshops in the park, one in the spring and one in the fall. And what will happen at the end of each of those is there will be an exhibition in one of the one of the buildings at the facility for the public. That is the synopsis of it. This is a program that has been done before, but it is being augmented, and I think that the relationship with their partners, both the site partners and also different organizations in the area, are working together very well to propose and manage this exhibition. I mean, excuse me, this project and exhibition. Arts for Lawrence has a number of different modalities and different kind of art forms, but they specifically learned from the community that the community wanted more in the visual arts. And this is a response to that. In addition to that, to having a program for the visual arts, they're also expanding it from both spring and fall, so that they could utilize the park. By the way, if anybody doesn't know what plein air means painting out in the air. So they will have workshops. They will be working with students and children and professionals both to be painting in the park and taking advantage of the landscape. I believe that they've thought through the relationship with the site and that engagement very well. The public benefit and participation is already has been specified that youth are, and the youth have been captured through enrollment in of students in the AFL summer camps, and also partnerships that they have. And I think that that's very strong. I think that the instruction is also going to be in collaboration with watching professional artists painting or doing sculpting in the park. And so that the students or the participants will have exposure to those professionals as well, which will strengthen the quality of the overall project. And the public at large will benefit when they have a public exhibition in the end. In terms of its feasibility, they've done this before, and it's a little bit complicated, but they seem to have everything in hand. I did question something from the budget line. There is an artist fee of $1,000 for the program and an administration fee of $750, and I questioned if that perhaps was overly generous. Perhaps if there was more budgetary detail, it would tell us how those funds are being distributed, i.e. There's for both the summer and the fall programs, that would be the artist instructor would be doing 2 programs. That would be $500 per each day, but what also might that individual be doing, not only in preparation for the program, but in the follow-up with the exhibition, etc. Perhaps then that would be more justified. Also, there's a tremendous amount of labor, volunteer labor from the community, and there isn't any kind of accounting for this in some kind of in-kind, which I think would strengthen the application because it is large and commendable. Lastly, I felt that the workshop being 3 hours is appropriate for children in their attention span, but I felt that it was too short for adults, and that perhaps the program could be extended to play out over the entire day, so that there would be a morning program with children and adults, but that the adults would be able to return to their work in the afternoon, and with some, again, interaction and on-site work with both the teaching artist and the professional artists. I believe that is all.
Thank you, Michael Ann. Second reader, Mitch.
Really would agree with everything that has been said. I think the one note I had was I absolutely loved seeing the partnerships, not just with the arts community, but really the greater community. That's something that I think is important as we try to expand the arts into our community, is to look outside of that normal circle of organizations and influencers. And I think this application did a really nice job of showing how they're going to accomplish that.
Thank you, Mitch. Any other reviewers have new, additional, or opposing comments?
I would say the only thing that I commented on was kind of, while counting participation is one good way of gauging success. Another part of it that they mentioned in their application is that another gauge of their success would be participants submitting their finished products to the exhibit. And for me, as a terrible painter, I'm a bit shy in that aspect. And I think to myself, I would be less apt to submit for an exhibit. And I wondered, how many of those folks that go there would go to the park, enjoy doing the outdoor interacting and painting, but not necessarily submit their work to the exhibit. So it could give you kind of a false reading, so to speak, on your success. While you could have had 100 people show up at your event, for example, and maybe only 15 submit their final works. Does that mean it's a successful, not successful event based on the number of exhibits that were submitted? So I guess that was my only thing, is maybe to kind of come up with a different way of evaluating, other than the number of submissions to the exhibit.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Any other comments? Then please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Does anyone need more time? Hearing none, we will move to Prairie Arts Council. First reader is Jessie.
This application is for a weekend of artist demonstration workshops at the Tippecanoe River State Park. I thought this application was pretty strong. See, the only comment really that I had is I didn't think that their audience, and this kind of plays into the public benefit as well as the feasibility, I didn't think that they sought an additional audience besides the campers and their personal family and friends. It seemed like they were just going to take advantage of the people that are already at the location. And then I also commented that I think that the fees and the income over expenses are entirely appropriate, but whenever I look at grant applications, I always like to see that there's some commitment on their part of trying to do some fundraising. So that's just something that I would probably want to see on future applications. And then also for the logistics of it, I thought their timeline was excellent and the sample schedule was wonderful. I just had questions about the logistics of, are the artists going to be solely responsible for providing their own materials and doing the setup and breakdown of their own stuff, or is there any sort of coordination with the volunteers to help with that? So I think that was the only thing I was a little unclear on.
Thank you, Jessie. Chaplain?
Yes. This is, I don't know, for some reason, I started out with that one, but when I got my second list, I was switched to the Windfall Dancers.
Okay. You are also second reader on this one, but if you don't have any additional comments for it, we can move on.
No additional comment.
All right, well, that's fine. We'll call on the other reviewers. Does anyone else have any new, additional, or opposing comments?
This is Sarah. I just wanted to add that, excuse me, the level of hands-on activity involved in this project is really excellent. And they use the term make and take strategy really speaks to the site's goal of creating memories linked to the property. And I did want to add, it would be great to see a more broad-reaching marketing strategy and supporting budget planned. You know, as a third party, it seems like there's potential here to bring even larger numbers of visitors to the site for the programs. You know, maybe, for example, utilizing paid social media advertising or things like that.
Thank you, Sarah. Any other comments? Hearing none, please finalize your scores and update your online comments.
We're just past halfway through. Does anybody need to take a 5-minute break?
Yes. Okay, let's take 5 minutes.
Back at 10:36.
Okay. Let me know if you need more time. Okay, then here we go on our final application of the morning. Windfall Dancers, Inc. and Chaplin is first reader.
I thought this was a very good application, but there's an issue with the fact that they're using 3 different state parks. They're using Brown County State Park, Spring Mill State Park, and McCormick State Park. They're still listing all 3 as places where they're actually having this function or event, but according to the summary, they've only done it in Spring Mill 1 time. Now, they also say that they've tried other things in Spring Mill, but according to the summary again, there's nothing listed showing that they've ever done anything in Spring Mill except for 2017. Now, I'm wondering if Spring Mill is failing because no surveys are talked about, no, the target market is not necessarily, it's identified, but maybe if it's adapted or changed a little bit. But if they're not using 3 different individual parks, why are they still saying that they're using 3 individual state parks? And then as far as their marketing is concerned, their marketing is for the 3 state parks, $141.22, which is about $13.41 per park. And maybe if that's changed, the marketing for Spring Mill changed, it would help change the amount of people that come out. Instead of them just saying, well, we don't think people in Spring Mill like dancing. There's got to be people in Spring Mill that like dancing. Maybe they're just not reaching those people. But basically, that was the only thing I had for that one.
Okay, Chaplin, thank you. Second reviewer, Doug.
Yeah, I thought it was a really well put together application. Really worked well with it seemed like they were working well with the parks on engaging with them, and then the target audience with interacting with the audience as well, participation, the evaluation that they're going to do. I feel like with what they presented there, that they are going to get, you know, the kind of feedback that they're going to need to be successful in the future. So I feel like they're spot on in the feasibility. Again, very well organized in their approach and what they're doing. Overall, I'd say it's a really solid application.
Thank you, Doug. Are there any new, additional, or opposing comments? Hearing none, I'd ask you to finalize your scores and update your online comments. Does anyone need more time? If not, then I'm pleased to say that this concludes the Arts in the Parks and Historic Sites 2020 Organizations #2 Advisory Review Panel. The applicants will be notified of the status of their grant following the Commission's December quarterly business meeting. If you have any questions, please contact Anna Tragester. And I would like to thank the panelists for an excellent job. Thank you for the time and commitment you put in. Certainly thank you to Anna and the staff. And thank you to the organizations for the ways you're touching lives.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.